You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke McKenna, but today's case is about the lost boys of Hannibal. Were they lost in a cave or were they taken? And how do boys who were seen by many vanish within the hour without ever being seen again? There's an entire podcast about this case called The Lost Boys of Hannibal that I will have linked down below. They gave so much information on this case, and I really recommend going and watching or listening to that after you watch this. I am also posting so much strange content for ODDtober this month, so make sure you are subscribed with the post notification bell on so you are not missing any of that. And if you want to just give me a little motivation and happiness, just click the thumbs up button and leave a nice comment down below because it would mean the world. Now let's get back to the story. So it was 1967 in Missouri, and 3 boys would vanish from Hannibal, which is about 2 hours away from St. Louis. Now these boys were Joey and Billy Hogue, who were brothers who were 13 and 11, as well as 14-year-old Edwin Craig Dowell, who went by Craig at this time. Now they all lived in the same area. They were pretty much neighbors. The Hogue brothers actually had 11 siblings in total, and I believe Craig had 4 in total. So these were kind of big family areas, and it had a lot of children nearby to play with that they knew and to go on adventures with, which they often did. But Joey Hogue was Caucasian with brown hair, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, and he dreamed of being an astronaut one day. Billy was Caucasian with red hair, blue eyes, and freckles, and was the usual younger brother who wanted to be with his older brother and his friends. Because Joey and Craig were actually the same age, they were in the same grade, and they were friends, but Billy was the younger brother to Joey, who just wanted to hang out with them, and they did allow him to. Their friend Craig lived in the neighborhood, like I said. He was also Caucasian, and he was a very quiet but a very smart child, and still liked to go out on adventures with the rest of them. Now, Billy attended Stowell Elementary, while the other 2 boys attended Hannibal Junior High, and they loved to go on adventures and take risks. However, people in the neighborhood and their families knew that they were still good boys. They just had a passion to explore. But on Wednesday, May 10th, these boys would never come home from one of these trips. They would often explore the caves in the South Side neighborhood. There was a ton of caves, and they used their family's aluminum ladder to get up inside or to get down in these caves because they were such young boys. At around 4 p.m. that day, right after they had gotten off the bus from school, these 3 boys were seen by people at the fire station, firefighters, and they were walking by carrying flashlights and a shovel, and these were gifts from the Hogue parents to these boys because they did, they wanted them to explore. They wanted them to be safe, but they knew the boys were going to explore anyway, so they bought them the tools to do so properly. Now, witnesses also saw these boys head to Murphy's Cave, which was one of the caves in the area that many tourists would go and see. It was kind of a big thing in this area, and there were often tourists that came by, but there were often kids there as well. And at this time, when the boys got there at around 5 to 5:15, there were several kids around who saw them near the road and near this cave. After this, the boys were never seen again, and they never returned home from supper. Craig even had a youth group meeting for the church that he had planned to go to that day, and along with a lot of the other kids in the neighborhood. These boys had allegedly asked many of their classmates if they would like to go with them to this cave to explore. However, a lot of the classmates said, no, I have a youth group meeting, we have to dress nice, I can't go out, my parents won't let me, and that was the case for a lot of kids. Police were called, and the search was so large that it drew national attention, and there was non-stop news coverage on this, which was strange considering there was only 1 radio station and 2 TV channels, and yet it was still being broadcasted everywhere. The problem was this cave had many entrances, especially at this time, because there had been work to build this highway, which was MO 79 at the time. There was construction work going on right then and there that day that had often used dynamite and bulldozers that were causing explosions that would cause these cave openings to open up. Allegedly, 2 days prior to their disappearance on May 8th, the boys had actually been shooed away by construction workers because they had gone into one of these caves and the construction worker had seen them and told them to get out, that it was dangerous, and these boys did so when they were yelled at, but they went home and they were dirty and they were late, and their parents knew that they had done something and yelled at them to basically never do it again. But these fearless boys didn't always listen, and they went back again the 9th, the next day, and they did get yelled at by construction workers. They made it home on time, and so they had figured out how to do it. So they did it again the 10th. The day of the 10th, the Hoag's mother even told them to change out of their good clothes and to not explore any caves because she knew exactly what they were trying to do. And so she tried to warn them, do not go into the caves, and if you're going to get dirty, change out of your good clothes. Approximately 200 professional cavers went into this Murphy's cave to see if they could find these boys, and it was so small inside that it was hard for an adult to fit in. There was even a girl who was about 95 pounds, like 5'2", and who was a professional caver, and she could barely fit through some of these spaces. But of course these were little boys and they could probably fit better than an adult. However, they did note that there were cracks in the wall and the ceilings that caused everything to be unstable. And it was believed that these were made by the explosives done by the construction workers, which was extremely dangerous, knowing that somebody could have been in there at that time. And maps were being made to show what areas that they did search and what they still needed to search. However, their biggest fear was that during one of these explosions, the boys were inside and something had either fallen on them or pinned them down or kind of trapped them inside somewhere where they were still okay but they couldn't get back through. Fearing that the entrances had been blocked off to let these boys out, searchers even tried to unseal them, taking away rocks in certain areas, but could never get through to find anyone. And of course, it was never proven that this happened, that something fell on the boys, that the boys were even still in there, and the search continued. But a month later, the boys were still missing. Thousands of dollars were being put into their rescue, and a local newspaper even reported that a sock was found at the entrance to one of these caves, and also a red substance that was thought to be blood. However, this can't be confirmed. The river was searched, as well as abandoned houses and woods, and many tips were coming in, including one that was saying that the boys were spotted in St. Louis. However, these boys were then found, and it was not Billy, Joey, and Craig. And in June, the search for them officially ceased because there was literally nothing else they could do. Now, some psychics did come forward saying that they had seen these boys on a rail car with oranges heading somewhere in the United States. However, if you don't believe in that, that means nothing to you. If you do, you could take something out of it, but many psychics did come forward to try to help, and of course, they've still not been found. Now, this wasn't the first time that kids in this area had gone into these caves. There was actually a year prior an incident with 3 other boys where they had gone in and gotten lost, but they did find their way out, thankfully, and they were okay. However, they refused to ever go into any caves. Once again, it scarred them so much. However, this luck obviously didn't transfer to Billy, Joey, and Craig. However, some believe that that's not the truth because they never went in the caves at all. You see, it was found by multiple witnesses that Billy, the youngest Hoag brother, went home at around 4:30, separated from the other 2 to go change his shoes, probably out of his school shoes. Maybe he forgot to do so, I'm not sure, but he did go home real quick to change them and then went back. And they weren't too far from home, so this wasn't a crazy distance, and then he met back up with them. However, the 3 of them were expected by their parents to go back at the time of the church meeting to catch the bus that would take them to this church. And when they never did, this is when the panic started to arise in all of the parents, and the Hoag family actually realized this, and the parents and siblings all went out to Murphy's cave immediately, and they began to call down into the cave and weren't getting any answers. They had talked to the kids nearby who said that the last time they saw the 3 boys, they were in the cave, so this Hoag family was shining flashlights, was trying to yell at them, was trying to get their attention and get any sort of reaction, but they got nothing, and that is when they decided to call the police. But did these boys actually go into the cave and never came back out? because the only witnesses that saw them actually go into the cave were these kids. And can we be certain that they're telling the truth, first of all? And if you can be certain they're telling the truth, can we be certain that they stayed the entire time to make sure that these boys never came out? That's something that's very speculated, is that possibly these witnesses, these children who saw them go into the cave, left at this certain time, or even went to go tell somebody at this time, and the boys possibly came out while they were gone. And in that case, did the boys run away from home, or was this a possible abduction or a serial killer in the area? I mean, did they take advantage of these boys' adventurous ways? Because of course, if an adult male was telling them that they could do something fun, I don't see the boys saying no. I mean, no one seemed to look into these theories because they were too focused on the caves themselves, which weren't showing any answers and never did. I mean, what do you think happened to them? Why and how can they have so many sightings up until 5 p.m. and then just vanish? I don't think that it's too far-fetched to say that they went to this cave, they got lost, or they got trapped from these explosions. I mean, there was a ton of construction going on in the area at the time that could cause a ton of things to happen inside this cave. But it's horrible to even think that that is what could have happened to them. And if so, does that mean that these boys are buried along this highway somewhere? If you have any information, please call the Hannibal Police Department at 573-221-0987. And I'd truly love to hear your theories on this one, because it's one that is driving me crazy. I feel like so many people came forward with witness statements because it was such a close-knit town and everybody kind of just saw everybody doing everything. You couldn't do anything in secret. So unless they were trapped in this cave, how did nobody see anything? And why did nobody stop the boys from going in? You can't tell me that an adult, that a construction worker wasn't always keeping their eyes out. However, you know, like I said previously, there were many openings being found because of the construction work. But I don't know, I just feel like this could have been a completely different outcome. I know that some comments are probably going to be, oh, the parents shouldn't have let them explore, but you can't let your kid not ever do anything in fear. However, you know, maybe they should have been more adamant about do not go in the caves. But I hate to blame the parents because they're already grieving the loss of their children, so I don't want to see any comments like that down below. I just think that it's a hard case to even stomach, and I don't know if it'll ever be solved, unfortunately. But if anything, it's told me that I never want to go in a cave. So be safe if you do. But don't ever forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay, bye.